Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that President Trump wants some way to replace Christopher Wray. I don't have any inside information, and judging by the public record, we have Dan Coates, who's leaving. John Ratcliffe is now the new Director of National Intelligence. He will be confirmed by a Republican Senate. He has wrestled control of the intelligence community away from Democrats. He will continue to do so. Christopher Wray was a replacement of James Comey. The way Dan Coates was a replacement of James Clapper. I do believe that because Christopher Wray is more of an establishment figure. So you have Pompeo, who's a loyalist. By the way, it's very good for presidents to have loyalists. Or I should say it's normal. It's protocol. President Trump was surrounded by people who were loyal to him. And he was loyal to them. When Clapper and Brennan committed perjury, each one of them committed perjury, President Obama's administration looked the other way. In addition to the fact that when Brennan was spying on the Senate, President Obama's administration looked the other way. But you have Dan Coates being replaced by John Ratcliffe, who is like Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows, Matt Gaetz, Louis Gohmert, who has tried to get to the bottom of why the intelligence community set up and framed Trump with a dossier purchased by Clinton and a CrowdStrike assessment outsourced by Democrats, and a Alexander Downer gossip and hearsay tip that included information about Joseph Mifsud, who backtracked and lied 3 times to the FBI, according to the Mueller report. So James Comey, just like James Clapper, so you had James Clapper into Dan Coates. Dan Coates now replaced with John Ratcliffe. After James Comey, he had to pick an establishment figure. The establishment figure was Christopher Wray. Christopher Wray, Trump won't reveal his confidence level in FBI Director Chris Wray. This is CNN, Monday, June 24th. The FBI director is wrong, he said. In that interview, when asked if he would be open to talking dirt on political rivals from foreign governments, Trump said, "I think I'd want to hear it." And then they said, "Well, Christopher Wray, the FBI said that you should inform them." Obviously, the intelligence community was always beholden to President Obama. The notion that they were just worried about the average American is nonsense. The intelligence community under Bush was beholden to Bush. Under Obama was beholden to President Obama. And Trump is president. And furthermore, he has a better case to ask for intelligence chiefs, at least not beholden to him, but at least loyal to his administration. He was set up and framed. So he needs to get to the bottom of everything. Now, he has Director of National Intelligence, the National Intelligence Director as John Ratcliffe. He has Haspel at the CIA. Mainly, he has Pompeo at the State Department. He has William Barr, who's Justice Department, and John Durham. These are all people that obviously John Durham has a criminal probe ongoing. He needs these people, and he has General Nakasone, I believe that's General Nakasone, who is the NSA chief. And so the one person who kind of sticks out and is constantly, I guess, trying to defend or represent the establishment viewpoint still is Christopher Wray. Opinion: did Christopher Wray actually read the IG report? This is the Washington Examiner. This was right last year when the IG report came out, stating that there was immense bias from Peter Strzok, and that a whole lot of things took place that should never have taken place. But, oh, by the way, the FBI allegedly wasn't influenced by bias, even though they were not given, they didn't find out how Clinton transferred top secret and special access program intelligence, and Christopher Wray actually texted, "We will stop Trump." And you had Andrew McCabe, who lied under oath 3 times because his wife accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars from Terry McAuliffe, a Clinton fundraiser, who was governor of Virginia. And then you had media and FBI practically embedded within each other. You had hundreds of pages of bias, like Louis Gohmert said. Then you threw a little lifeline to Democrats and said, well, we couldn't find any bias. The thing was a political document. Of course there was bias. Any other person, what took place was that Michael Horowitz looked at every single example as independent from the aggregate. And he said, well, I can't prove that James Comey, I can't prove that this FBI agent wanted Clinton to win. But I don't even think he was given all the details. He wasn't even given all the text messages from Peter Strzok. And I'm not certain he was even given the "We'll stop Trump" text message. So the original Inspector General report was obviously extremely detrimental to the FBI. But here, FBI Director Christopher, but they try to downplay it. FBI Director Christopher Wray downplayed it. An Inspector General reports Thursday, telling this was last year, the document findings don't impugn the integrity of his agency. There is no integrity when it came to Comey and McCabe and Baker and Strzok and Page and all these people. The way Wray tells it, the FBI is doing just peachy. The 500-page Justice Department report, which details IG's investigation into the agency's handling of Hillary Clinton's email scandal, is merely a collection of unflattering details. Really, the IG report makes clear that we've got some work to do, he added, but let's be clear in the scope of the report. It's focused on a specific set of events in 2016 and a small number of FBI employees connected with those events. Nothing in the report impugns the integrity of our workplace as a whole or the FBI as an institution. Well, of course it does. Of course it does. The IG report was all about bias, all about institutional bias, all about bias and contempt for Trump from the people who were at the highest levels of the FBI. The fact that Christopher Wray had never admitted this and still doesn't is probably something Trump wants to rectify in the form of a new FBI director. Did Wray even read the report? Because the DOJ document, which details the ethical and moral lapses of more than just a few FBI employees, definitely does not reflect on the agency as a whole. Here, let's walk through some of the more damaging details. Right off the bat, there's this rather alarming claim. This is from the IG report. Quote, we identified text messages and instant messages sent on FBI mobile devices and computer systems by 5 employees, included statements of hostility towards then-candidate Trump and statements of support for candidate Clinton. And several appear to mix political opinions with discussions about the Clinton private email server investigation. Then there's this. We identified instances where FBI employees improperly received benefits from reporters, including tickets and sporting events, golfing outings, drinks and meals, and admittance to non-public social events. We will separately report on those investigations as they are concluded. Then you have Andrew McCabe indicted. Under criminal investigation. He'll eventually be indicted. Then you have, from the Inspector General, we identified numerous FBI employees at all levels of the organization with no official reason to be in contact with the media who were nevertheless in frequent contact with the reporters. We have profound concerns. The volume and extent of unauthorized media contacts by FBI personnel that we have uncovered during our review. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, definitely check out HA2A after this segment. I have... I'm starting, so every day from here on out, I will have a segment just to start building the channel. It is about President Trump, and it is explaining and arguing, and just, I'm going to make the claim, and I'm going to back it up. President Trump is not racist. He's actually the antithesis of that word, and I will explain in my, on HA2A, I'll put the link below. So share that segment everywhere. everywhere. Please go ahead. And that will be in the pinned comment here. After I upload this, I'll upload the HA2A segment on President Trump. But, so definitely subscribe to HA2A. I'm going to build up that second channel, and it's going to be linked to my new website that's coming out that'll debunk every claim against Trump, every ridiculous claim, he worked with Russia, he obstructed justice, all this nonsense. But the report also noted the IG report also noted that they investigated allegations the FBI employees improperly disclosed non-public information regarding the Clinton email investigation, although FBI policy strictly limits the employees who are authorized to speak to the media. Now, this is what just a little bit of what the IG report stated, and of course, Christopher Wray just recently said, well, the new IG report will determine whether the FBI committed any crimes. That's not true. The IG report John Durham's going to determine that. I think that Christopher Wray is not in good standing with President Trump. I don't have, like I said, this is more of a theoretical segment. I am not certain. I don't have proof. This is just my viewpoint, my opinion. But I don't think that he likes Christopher Wray. I don't think that he wants Christopher Wray around. And he definitely wants somebody. See, President Obama had James Comey. Okay? James Comey was a loyalist. In every sense, the definition of a loyalist, in every sense of the word. He covered up Clinton's crimes, and he fabricated crimes against Trump. You can't get more loyal than that. And here's a news flash. I don't care if John Ratcliffe or anyone else says this. Russia did not interfere in the election in 2016. Clinton's running again, so we'll get to that eventually, like I always do. They're not going to go with the people they have. Clinton eventually will run, and it'll be before New Year's, probably October or November. But all of this was done to pave the way for Clinton, but they don't have anyone else. And what took place was he was set up and framed. President Trump was set up and framed. They had no evidence against him. But if you look at Paul Sperry, right here, he talks about how breaking Coates' ouster at ODNI is just the start of a major Trump shakeup of the intelligence community. More changes are coming at other IG agencies. So Paul Sperry brings this up, and that kind of got me down the road of doing this segment. So that got me thinking, and you're not going to have President Trump wrestle with his intelligence agencies. You're going to have President Trump wrestle control away from President Obama and President Bush's administration. These are all establishment figures. The notion that Russia interfered in the election is absurd. Nobody saw Facebook ads. Not one vote was altered. So we had Admiral Michael Rogers state, no votes were altered in swing states. That's the rebuttal they get to Bernie Sanders, who, by the way, every single day the guy implodes. I'm almost like, I look back at myself and why the Huffington Post called me the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, and the Washington Post called me the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters. I feel embarrassed, as I'm sure other people on the left do, that I was even writing. If they had listened to me, Bernie actually would have won. He definitely would have won the Democratic primary if they had listened to me. But they never cared about winning. It was all a smoke and mirrors show, apparently. He had no intention of fighting. And he had every intention, apparently, of promoting the same myth that said Russia informed the country that the Russians informed the country that he was cheated by Debbie Wasserman, Schultz, and Clinton. But not one vote was altered. So when people say, oh, well, Russia interfered in the election. No, they didn't. How many votes were altered? Well, we can't tell you, but they had Facebook ads. And then they don't make a categorical claim if you can't even quantify it. Well, they hacked the DNC. How do you know? Well, the intelligence community says it did. No, the intelligence community says it's highly confident. Read the ODNI and DHS report disclaimers. The disclaimers say such judgments might be wrong. High confidence assessments might be wrong. Okay? And so, the United States government is not certain the DNC was even hacked. That is in the ODNI and DHS reports. That's why when they indicted Russian intelligence officers, they used Company 1 to indict the Russian intelligence officers. That's why recently a judge stated, hey, the government cannot, and Mueller cannot, make claims that the Kremlin ordered social media companies to buy Facebook ads. And by the way, it's really interesting how Twitter bots and Facebook ads are supposed to have been purchased with rubles by the Russians. And Facebook gets away with it? And Twitter gets away with it? How is that possible? How on earth is that possible? So the whole thing is, they make claims they can't back up, and they just parrot the intelligence community because it sounds good, because it bolsters their bias, and it gives them a reason to explain their monumental, catastrophic loss, which will take place again. Now, they're going to raise money, a lot of money, probably $2 billion. They might get close in 2020. Clinton's going to run again. She hasn't ruled it out. That is not true, and I keep saying that's not true. She never said she's not running in 2016. She said she's not running currently. They live within semantic murkiness. They live within the shadows of definitions of words. And Clinton is like, she survived Bosnian sniper fire, so people who believe Clinton's unbelievable. But anyway, Christopher Wray, if Trump could find a way to get Christopher Wray out of there and a new FBI director, he would. He did not have the political capital to get somebody who was loyal to him. He didn't have the political capital. So John Durham's going to continue his investigation. I'm not predicting anything. I'm predicting, obviously, Clinton's running, but I'm not predicting that Christopher Wray is going to get fired. I can see. So this is somewhat of a prediction, but I can see Christopher Wray being replaced long after John Ratcliffe is Director of National Intelligence, and during the middle or towards the end of John Ratcliffe's probe. John Ratcliffe, his investigation into Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, all these people, it's probably going to take over a year. It's going to go well beyond the 2020 election. So when you have breaking, this is Paul Sperry, Coates ouster at ODNI is just the start of a major Trump shakeup of the intelligence community. More changes are coming at other IG agencies. He hired Haspel. I believe he hired General Nakasone of the ODNI. Of the NSA. Okay? The biggest change was, and the NSA, by the way, was only moderately confident of all the nonsense to begin with. So who does that leave? The one person who continually states, well, you need to tell us, and our reputation has never been tarnished, and we're so wonderful, even though Comey and McCabe and Strzok, he's never made amends, Christopher. He's never accepted the reality the FBI framed and set up Trump at the behest of people like Clapper and Brennan, and especially President Obama, and mainly Hillary Clinton, who's running again. So it's pretty overt. Like, you don't really have to. The setup was obvious. It was an obvious setup. Okay? It was an obvious setup. Very obvious. So, Now it's just getting to the bottom of everything, and we know that there's one holdout. There's one person who's holding out, and that's Christopher Wray. Okay? There's one person that's holding out. Pompeo at State Department, Clinton's the Golden Muumuu's old stomping grounds, loyal. John Ratcliffe will be loyal. And sorry, he's president. Everyone was loyal to Obama. How many people resigned from the uranium sale? Oh, that's right, nobody. Oh, well, that was different. It was just a business. Yeah, right. They think Facebook ads are more important than the actual 20% of U.S. uranium capacity to Russia. And the only person who could have vetoed that sale was President Obama. And he didn't. I wonder why. And I'm sure, cash flowing to the Clinton Foundation had nothing to do with it. Could you imagine if the tables were reversed? Cash flowed to Trump's foundation, and then he didn't. Then a Republican president, and he was Secretary of State, and a Republican president failed to veto the sale of 20% of U.S. uranium capacity. Can you imagine? Could you imagine the media? But I think that Christopher Wray is on the hot seat. I think that if anyone is going to be replaced eventually, it'll be Christopher Wray by President Trump. He has every right to do so. The FBI is part of the executive branch. There's no obstruction of justice. There never was with Comey. Because immediately after Comey was fired, by the way, if you want to really go back in time, McCabe, man, we don't curtail our activities. As you know, there are people experiencing questions and reacting to the developments this week. Does that get in the way of our ability to pursue any other investigation? No, ma'am. We continue to focus on our mission and get the job done. Has there been any curtailment of the FBI's activities since Comey was fired? Susan Collins and Trump and McCabe says, "Man, we don't curtail our activities. No, man, we continue to focus on our mission and get that job done." There you go. So that right then and there, McCabe's like, no, and he was the acting FBI director at that point. So they go back in time and they say, "Oh my God, he obstructed justice. He obstructed this. He didn't obstruct anything. He didn't obstruct anything." But you know what? Just enjoy this segment. Definitely check out HA2A for just a very important segment on Trump is not racist, because that's going to be one of the sections, one of the parts of the new website that I'm coming out with. But this is kind of a foreshadowing. So every single day I'll have a 5 to 10 minute segment on HA2A just to start building up the channel. So please tell your friends about HA2A. It'll be me talking about anything I want to. I'm building up the channel, so I won't care about anything. I'm just going to speak my mind. Whereas on this channel, I'm more reserved and diplomatic. And so you'll get a more raw H.A. Goodman on HA2A. It's below in the pinned comment. And I'll put the segment below that I'm talking about. Give me your thoughts below, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to HA2A. If you want to support my voice long-term, my Patreon is below in the pinned comment. HA2A is in the pinned comment, and as is my latest segment on Trump is not racist. Give me your thoughts on Christopher Wray and the FBI. Do you think that he's going to be replaced next? Thank you so much.